Well, with Israel, actually, you have a different example there because Israel actually is one of the countries where we have a strategic relationship with, where we're getting more intelligence on extremism and the war on terror than any other country. I would rather have Israel at the tip of the sword in the Middle East than have U.S. forces there. And so we have an aid agreement with them that's a loan. It's a $3 billion loan, not direct aid payment. It's a loan to Israel. They are repaying that loan each year. And that loan is, the vast majority of which goes to buying U.S. products from the country as part of the so that they can maintain their security. It's, I think, the best structured foreign aid program that we have out there.
As the election goes, the white elephant is losing because in the last election, at the very end, all the Democratic candidates labeled all the Republican candidates as members of the Tea Party. I think that has a very Are you going to try to include yourself with the Tea Party or separate yourself from the Tea Party?
Hey, I'm a member of one. Possibility for groups that really have no so you're backed by the Tea Party. I'll say, well, can you define which ones I'm backed by? Can you define what that means? And they can't. Instead, what we've seen are extremes on both sides of the political spectrum. Name calling, applying labels to people that don't fit. Since when is the gay, pro-choice environmentalist who's taken on both parties the extreme right-wing candidate? I mean, it just doesn't hold up to truth testing. But they're willing to go out there and apply labels that don't fit. Why? Because they don't have solutions to problems. Instead of debating solutions, they're out there throwing scary labels on people. And I don't think that solves anything, and it doesn't bring people together. In the mayor's race, they got away with that. I'm not about to let them get away with that in this campaign, and I think that we all need to demand better of both sides than the label applications and the name calling. And that's what my candidacy is going to be about. Maybe we'll lose, but I intend to run a campaign that's based on solutions, and I'm going to challenge those labels as not productive to solving problems in this country. And I think that's where the American people are. They're sick and tired of the label game that people apply on both sides. Yeah.
What is your perspective as far as welfare and then putting a term limit on welfare with a incentive to teach them job safety off welfare?
I'm absolutely for a social safety net so that you give people a hand up when they fall down. But they have to be willing to get off the ground. They have to be willing to work hard. The best social safety net is a job. And so let's spend a lot of our time getting rid of the bad regulations, getting rid of the obstacles and the challenges that we put to job creation in this country, so that people who have a good idea and are willing to work hard can achieve the American dream.
But are you in favor of putting a term limit if they're not willing to do something to get off it?
Well, let's start the conversation, though. I want to make sure that when we talk about social safety net, we start the conversation where it ought to be, which is job creation. We don't do enough of that. We don't talk about the challenges to getting a job, to starting a small business, to making ends meet. That has to be the first part of the conversation. As it relates to accountability for when you do fall off and you need a little bit of help, we should have programs that help people off the ground. But it ought to be limited in terms of time. There ought to be a timeline that you have to get off the ground in this amount of time, or you cut off your assistance. And number two, we ought to make sure that it's accountable. My opponent has voted against any sort of income verification when it comes to food stamps or healthcare subsidies. I think that's wrong. The amount of waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs is staggering. So let's require accountability that you actually meet the requirements, meet the criteria for getting some help. Second, let's require that you actually seek a job, or that you're seeking a degree during the time in which you're getting the assistance. Let's make sure that there's accountability there. Have anyone heard about the surfer buying lobster with food stamps. My opponent refuses to reform the system that allowed that to happen. I want accountability. So I'm for that social safety net. I think anyone here would be willing to say, yeah, let's help someone out if they truly fell on hard times. But in exchange for getting that help, we're going to require that you seek a job, and we're going to put a timeline on this. But the best way to create safety is to create a philosophy in Washington and in Sacramento and at City Hall that the best way to help someone achieve sustainability is to help them get a job. Get out of the way of the economy. Stop choking off investment. Stop, the strangulation of our small business owners with regulations. And that message is not heard enough. We see Republicans talk about, well, I want to have a strong economy. All right, where are you going to start? What regulation are you going to go after? How many of you heard about the signatures that we turned in 2 days ago to protect maritime jobs in San Diego? So I stood outside of stores for the past 2 weeks for hours. A gentleman in the back tape recording from the Democrat Party. He was standing there next to me, tape recording me as I was collecting signatures for hours. I decided to do that because I might not be able to take on all bad regulations overnight, but I sure as hell can stop a bad regulation to get rid of it. Thousands of jobs in the maritime industry, the jobs that support the U.S. Navy, the jobs that are part of our trade and port programs. The Barrio Logan, absolutely. My opponent supports those restrictions. More regulation. And I said, no, enough regulation. We're killing our job base in San Diego. We got to take a stand. We have to send a message. Well, guess what? We collected 53,000 signatures in 30 days. And we put a stop to those regulations. And I think we sent a clear message to City Hall. You cannot continue to regulate us into prosperity. We have to be thinking about how we get out of the way of the market to create jobs, to invite investment, to get people back to work. We need to have that sort of leadership in Washington. Enough rhetoric, you need action, you need strategy, you need focus, and that's what I hope to bring to the conversation. One last question. Go ahead, Bill.
In many discussions we've had with people on Washington Republican side, does anybody get it yet?
Does anybody get it?
In other words, are they going to be open to your suggestions?
Well, I'm pleased that we're building a broad coalition of groups, of individuals back in Washington, individuals here, that support my candidacy. So at least in the beginning, they're saying, yeah, we know what you've done in San Diego, we're impressed by it, and we think that could be part of our conversation here in Washington. But when I was back there on the trip that I made, I have found that only about 5% of the members have any interest in ideas. 5%. The Republicans have about, 10, 15 people. 10, 15 people in the House have any interest in actual ideas.
They have to think? Is that the problem?
I can't say anything on the Democrat side, it's probably less, but 5% actually are interested in policy, in developing ideas and solutions. And you notice who those people are because they're the ones always rolling out plans and ideas and legislation. And that means that I've got a low bar that I can exceed. low bar that I can exceed. And then you might have another 10% that actually work hard, that actually are out there doing town halls, going raise awareness on issues, and doing the hard work. Again, a pretty low bar that's been set. I think we need someone back there who can do both. Not only come up with good ideas, but figure out how do you move an idea forward through communications, grassroots advocacy, by mobilizing an action campaign and winning these votes. And that's what I want to do. I'm willing to go back there and be that agitator to say we need good ideas and we need to fight for those good ideas in a strategic way. So far, and I said, what in the world are you people thinking? What is your game plan? Do you have one? No, we're just kind of, making a statement. Well, you're making a statement with people's lives. Stood our ground in City Hall. I always knew what would lead to that next step. And I told my staff, we're taking a stand on this issue because once this vote either goes this way or that way, here's what we're going to roll out next to advance the ball. Any time we took an issue on, we had a game plan. And we were pretty sure that we'd already made the case with San Diegans and that they were on our side, not their side. And that's how we got the other side to come on board and compromise and move things forward. They were like a kid pulling on a sweater, and the string ball of yarn is piling up. And they had no plan of action. And as a result, it was a mess. It brought damage, and they didn't move the ball forward. And that's not leadership. And I'm willing to stand up to people who don't have a solid plan to move things forward, because that's not constructive. That's destructive to what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm willing to call them out on that, as I have. One last question, and we'll go. Kelly.
I know that we're all here to very speak a little about what's going on locally.
Absolutely. For those of you who are friends in San Diego, please encourage them to vote Kevin Baldwin for mayor. Kevin was with me every step of the way on our reform agenda. I know that Kevin will continue the reforms as mayor. My biggest concern about the city of San Diego is that after all the hard work we put in to save it from bankruptcy and to stabilize the patient, to have all that go up in smoke, to have us fall back into the ICU unit because we get a bad mayor and the city council undoes the reform. And that's why I'm hoping that you will spread the word. November 19th is the election. There probably will be a runoff in February, but we need to make sure that we support Kevin every step of the way. I know Kelly's got more information on Kevin's campaign. Those of us in Poway can't vote for mayor, even though our community as a region is impacted by who is mayor. And that's why we need to spread the word and tell our friends, our four colleagues who live in San Diego to make the right choice. I want to close again in asking for your help. Spreading the word on my campaign. Word of mouth marketing is always the best form of marketing. Second, we need your help in terms of volunteers. This week we're launching College Week. And so we're going after the college students and presenting our message of freedom of opportunities, dealing with student loans, the job market, Obamacare, which is going to hit younger Americans the hardest. And so we're hoping to get volunteers and win votes on college campuses. But we need all sorts of folks in every community, every age bracket, every ethnicity to be part of this campaign. And I'm hoping that you'd be willing to spare a few hours over the course of the next 367 days, because that's how long it's going to be until election day, to come and volunteer. And third and finally, if you can spare some change, we do need donations. I'm up against a lot of money. Money's not going to win this campaign, but it's sure helpful to have it to get out our message. And with that, I'll thank you all for coming, and again, Angela, thank you so much for opening up the home, and we appreciate your hospitality. Thank you all.